Hey guys, this is Killer speaking, and in today's little dev update we are going to talk about the current happenings in development. As per usual, there are no big ticket items on the list, but oh well, there's one thing you should notice. But yes, first off, why has it taken so long for me to make another little dev update? Well, the answer is pretty simple, because we were posting patches pretty consistently across these past few months. I last did the Q&A, I believe, the last video, which is a fair time ago, I have to say, yes. But the patch notes speak volumes for themselves, so I don't quite see why I should talk about them in detail here, unless there's some bigger underlying issue that needs to be discussed or anything. So, now I do have something to talk to you about though, and the first item on my little list here is that I have to warn you that save games for the light campaign, this only affects the light campaign, will become incompatible with the next big patch coming out. And that's not the next big update, but rather the next patch. We will give you a bit of time there to finish your games. It will only be put on open beta probably early next week. And that means that over the weekend and so on, you can finish your current playthroughs. And then you can still opt back into the public, which currently they are the same version. The open beta and the public version are the very same version. So you can switch over to public with no download connected to that right now. And you will be able to get some more time to finish your save games, your current campaigns. And of course you rightfully would ask, why is that? Why do you have to make save games incompatible? The answer is that we have changed some data structures in regards to engineering, such that it can work a bit better. It needed more information there to be tracked, so that stuff like familiarity and so on can be implemented properly. And yes, that means that unfortunately, with the change of data structure, that could be potentially, we could put in the effort of converting the save games, but you never know what goes wrong in that, and it is a lot of effort to do so. So better not go into that now. So unfortunately, that is just like all the disclaimers said, and all these things here, all these beautiful save games, like half of them slightly bugged, will become incompatible with the next version. Then there is another thing that is coming up that I want to quickly mention, as it is a somewhat bigger feature, you could say, and that is about add-ons in general. And these add-ons will, in the next version, actually do what they're supposed to be doing. And they will come with the proper flagging system for limited and no mass production, which currently isn't implemented. So you can basically produce handmade stuff all you like, and you have no real penalties to it. So that is going to change, and that system will be implemented with the production flags here, and you will get some more info also in here, I believe, but that remains to be seen. And that will, yeah, I think that will be pretty valuable in addition to the light campaign, because currently it's doesn't really matter what you produce. There's no real scarcity of super luxury cars. This here isn't one, but yes, it plays weirdly right now, and we want to change that, and that's partially due to these production flags. And also, that means that we are implementing properly the different stages in some of the technologies. So, you know, for instance, that you need steel presses to make a steel body, and also a steel monocoque. Well, that doesn't change, but that is the state of not being able to produce it towards having full mass production capabilities. Now, it's all good and dandy, that won't change. But then you had aluminium presses, and they currently do absolutely nothing. Now that's broken. Yes, it is. And what actually should be happening is that if you don't have them, then it is handmade bodies, which will put a no mass production flag on the process of making them. So if you have that flag on there and put it into a highly automated factory, it will slow down the entire factory such that it becomes hard to argue it's feasible. And that is going to change. So what we are going to do is, as intended, when you then get aluminium presses, it goes from a no mass production, i.e. handmade process, towards a fully capable of mass production thing. Okay, that also makes sense. We have another different kind of mechanic here for some of these things. You can make carbon stuff, even if you don't have the carbon plant, but that will also be a complete handmade thing. Then if you add the carbon plant, it will go to limited production. So basically it goes from having a big penalty to having a smaller penalty. And then throughout the years this changes also for carbon. So first it becomes available and it's completely handmade. Then it goes towards, at some point in time, it's a fixed point, I can't remember when exactly it is, but I think it's something in the 2000s or so, it goes from no mass production to limited production. And at that point, having that carbon plant will actually make it such that you can mass produce carbon fiber. And yet another situation, the leather works. You might have wondered what they're actually for. Well, if you select the handmade interior, the handmade interior should actually be a no mass production thing, because there's so much, well, it's so handmade, right? It doesn't make any sense to have it mass produced. And it has the recommendation of Leatherworks. If you select the Leatherworks as an add-on, then you scroll to such that you can't see anything. Then you will remove the no mass production flag and receive a limited mass production flag, similar to how the carbon plant works and how the aluminum presses were slightly different. The luxury interior itself is always limited production, and the Leatherworks doesn't remove that flag. So you now have a bit more decisions to make there regarding what kind of interior you put into things and how that will affect the production of your cars in your factories. That is probably coming with the next patch as well. The staff facilities and their add-ons are not being worked on just yet. We do have all the models for them, but they are not going to be implemented with this patch. It's first get what's supposed to be in the game already in there, or like actually put it in such that the mechanics are working, and then these would be more relevant to, let me see, once we can move on here, this stuff, the production quality and your workers and so on. And that is not fully implemented yet, so it doesn't make sense to do these things yet. But this, from the designer point of view, is already implemented, but there are no consequences yet for these choices you're making. And now we give you the consequences of your choices in design. While we are here, one of the things that is also coming up is the repair and refresh mechanic for factories. I think I talked about that before, but let me briefly summarize it again. There are 3 different levels of factory wear. It is the factory buildings themselves, that is the topmost one. You have a major tooling that degrades slowly over time while you're producing. The harder you work it, the quicker it degrades, so the number of shifts determines that. And then you have the minor tooling, which is like your dies and so on. And those deteriorate reasonably quickly, so that you might want to, or it's tough decision to make after having run the factory for 3 years at like 1.5 shifts. You probably don't need to refresh it, but if you have run it at 2.5 shifts, you might want to think about getting a refresh such that your build quality, the average build quality of your car, is being pushed up again, and you don't get as many recalls. Recalls, of course, are not in the game just yet either. There will be a lot more decision making going on this page, which is, well, currently it's a little bland and blank, and a lot more cool stuff coming in regards to factory production, quality assurance for your cars, and the effects thereof. And also, of course, the build quality will be linked to your company prestige and reputation. So that is one of the incentives that will make sure that everyone has to pay some attention to what they are outputting. If it's just garbage and like 80 quality, like 100 would be exactly according to specifications. Above 100 is better than specifications, like better tolerances and so on. And below is just, yeah, let's not talk about it. Let's wait for the recalls instead. So yeah, that was that. And another thing, another very important thing. We finally need to properly fix the familiarity and how it builds up, and that it actually talks across the company with every other project you're making. And that will also be implemented in the coming weeks. That is not part of the next patch. Neither is, by the way, this new factory stuff, but it is coming down the line in the next few weeks. And we are continuing to polish up the game, the Light Campaign V3, with more content, more UI fixes, more just bug fixes in general. There's still plenty. I've certainly run into them myself in my little Let's Play I'm currently doing. And overall, I think we are... the overall goal here is to get it up to a state where we are happy, it is fully playable, and we are happy to move on to implement bigger things that are breaking the game for a month or two. And you will not be able to see any updates, apart from maybe a content update, in that amount of time. And yes, before we embark on that, we absolutely need to make sure that it's actually playable, not only by veterans who know what issues to avoid and how to avoid them, but also by newer people, which means more tooltips everywhere. Maybe not compression tooltip on every on everything here, but actual descriptions, or at least remove this fucking description, which it doesn't belong there. Now, yes, because this is all not self-explanatory, and we get that. That's something we need to improve upon. It just takes time. But yes, back to the familiarity thing. So currently the familiarity system is not quite working as intended. It seems to be only really working within projects where it doesn't matter that much, because, well, as soon as you have engineered it once, it's kind of dirt cheap. But also, it is kind of broken in that when you are facelifting something, and then you push up these sliders, the process and tooling, you are not paying the actual supposed difference, because this is a like OG facelift, i.e. the first model that comes out, and you see that it quickly gets really ridiculous when you put up that slider or down those sliders, and that when you do that in a first facelift, that doesn't give you the difference. Like, this is 220, so if you were to first engineer it like this, 60, then on the facelift you should be paying 220 minus 60 instead. And nowadays you would probably just pay like 10 months, something crazy stupid short like that. So it's not really working as intended. We are looking into that, and the familiarity system will finally do what it's intended to do, and that is that your company is staying with tech for longer, or incentivizes that at least. And if you're embarking on new technology, you want to make sure that you have had some kind of stepping stone towards that technology. For instance, if you're going for electronic fuel injection, you might want to have built a few 4-barrel carbs before, because they have a bit more control mechanisms that are like analog, you could say. And that is pretty similar to how the EFI is working as well. To some extent. It at least is not a single barrel carb that is super stupid and straightforward. That, of course, is just one of many examples. And yes, so in general, we keep patching this thing until it is considered a lot more playable than it is right now. Even though people who are veterans of this are finding it reasonably playable right now. There are many more improvements to come for UI and so on. We're currently working, Isaac is currently working out a new improved fixture UI, and that will give you some more options for coloring as well. In general, the game looks a lot prettier now. Well, not this, but like the car stuff and fixture stuff. We're continuing to work on that as well, and just general bug fixes. I'll keep you updated, especially through patch notes, and if there are bigger things coming up and bigger things like your save game's not working, then I shall make more little dev updates. Alright, hope you enjoyed, and see you guys next time.